I made 300K in less than 10 years with no rich background, no rich parents, no luck. I'm just a single mom. I'm not an investment genius, and I just had a system that worked for me, and I'm gonna share the system with you. I will start with a little story about myself. I was raised in Ukraine, I was born in Ukraine and lived in Ukraine. As you know, there is not a lot of money in Ukraine, so people don't earn a lot. I was a single mom and I had my daughter very young when I was 26. And it was really difficult time for me because I had no help, no husband, unfortunately we broke up, and no normal job. As a background, I studied law, but at some point I realized that it's not my kind of job. I didn't felt like working at the office. So I quit my job. I don't know whether it was good decision or bad, but it is how it is. Since then I was working as a photographer, but as a photographer I didn't make a lot of money that time. Having a child is very difficult, especially when you're alone. My parents couldn't help me. I had no support from my ex-husband. I always had this fear that I'm not gonna make it, that it's too difficult for me. Probably there are some other people that can make money, but me at that moment I felt very scared that I'm not gonna make it. I had also this fear that I'm gonna die poor somewhere under the bridge. So this fear actually pushed me to work very, very hard. I didn't have any savings at that moment, and I really was scared that I'm not gonna find my way in this life. But now I'm responsible not only for myself, but also for my baby. So at that time I was working very hard and I was trying a lot of different jobs. First of all, I was a photographer, but my income was not very much. It was really, really low. It was like 300 per month. It's not much at all. I also tried to work as a stock photographer. It took me 2 years before I started to earn like 600 per month, but it was the moment that the biggest stock company cut off all payments, and it was like 50% less. I was desperate because I worked so hard and you kind of need to start all over again. So I tried another way to make my income a little bit higher. I also tried to work with Etsy and made some handmade stuff. I really had fun to work on Etsy because I like to do something by myself with my hands, and you see the pieces of your creation, and it made me a lot of joy. So while I was working on many different jobs, my main goal was to make a decent emergency fund for some situation that can happen in life. And also I was dreaming about my own apartment because I was thinking that if I will buy an apartment for myself, this will be my emergency fund. If something happens, I can sell it or rent it out and I will gain some passive income, some money. So it was my dream to buy an apartment. So I was saving as much as I could, working on my 3 jobs, I would say. While doing all these jobs that I was doing, I also had this fear that someday it will stop. I will not have all these jobs for a long term. So I was thinking that probably I should save also as much as I can, because I don't know how much long can it last. And I was right, because for example, working on Etsy, it didn't last more than 1 year, because every platform then changes the algorithms, and it didn't went well after this 1 year, so I decided to quit and I need to focus on my photography stuff. After I did a photography, I also did a retouching. Retouching gave me more money than a photography. So I tried to balance while doing all this stuff, and then the worst happened. The war. So I needed to leave my country, only me and my daughter, and we moved to Germany. Now I live in Germany, and the most difficult part was that I needed to start all over again. I needed to build my new life in a new country, on new rules, and it was not easy, I would say. I decided, so probably I need to start my photography job, because it would be impossible to work as a lawyer in a new country. You need to learn this from the very beginning. And as photographer, it's more international. So I decided I need to start all over again. And it helped me, really helped me to find my place here. But my income wasn't that big. It was the minimum amount of money that mostly people have. It took me less than 10 years and I grew my capital to 300K. So how I did it? The first rule was not to spend money. Maybe it sounds pretty much easy and everybody say it, but the first rule for me was not to spend money. I cut off all the spendings. I had only the main spendings. I had my apartment, food, maybe some clothes, but not much, and pretty much that was it. I won't say that it was easy, because while everybody else was having fun, having parties, dinners, vacations, whatever people spend money on, I was working and I was saving. And it's not easy, because it was the time when I was young. I was in my 30s, and I also wanted to spend my life on vacations and parties, but I had the main goal in my head, and I decided that I need to stick to it, because I realized that to get to this final destination that I have is more important than I will have some fun now or today. And so my emergency fund was growing step by step, and in these years it grows to 300K. And the first step I took while I had my pretty much decent amount of money, I bought an apartment. It was like dream come true, because I always wanted to make it, and I did it. And I was a little bit lucky, because at that time the prices for real estate in my country were very low, and I made this investment to this apartment. I waited about 3 years before the developer was building it, and that's how my dream came true. And a couple of years later, I bought my second apartment, because I realized I need to take this opportunity while I have it. Of course, this journey is very hard. You need to sacrifice a lot of things, and it's not easy, but this sacrifice is a normal process of this journey, and believe me, it's worthwhile. For example, for me, not to spend money, it feels okay, because when I'm not spending money, I feel this joy when I can save something and to put in my emergency fund. And when I know that I have this money in this emergency fund, it makes me this feel of safety and security, and this feeling of safety and security makes me happy. So for example, I don't want to buy some new clothes, because new clothes is just spending, and maybe you will be happy like 1 or 2 days about this new stuff. But the happiness having this emergency fund is so much more and so much bigger. So for me it was even not a question. I better not to drink this cup of coffee today, but in the end of the year I have my emergency fund, and that makes me happy. And for example, in 1 year it will be not a big amount of money, but when we are talking about 8 years or 9 years, this can be a decent amount of money. And believe me, the times go like very fast. It's very fast. So what we have? First of all, we need to cut off our spendings and to leave only the important ones. Yes, apartment, food, maybe you have some mortgage or debt. Second rule, you need to put your money into emergency fund as much as possible. And maybe not drinking coffee today will make you closer to your goals. Also, I have one habit that helped me to manage my finances. I was a little bit like nerd with numbers, so I like to write all my incomes and expenses, and in the end of the month I analyze how much I spent, how much I earned, how much I can put into my emergency fund. And this little habit, to make it one time in a month maybe, this to sit and to manage your finances, it's a really good habit. You can see then, for example, oh, maybe I shouldn't spend on this stuff or this stuff, and it can release you some amount of money then you can put into your emergency fund. I started doing it probably 15 years ago like this, and I make it till now, and it really helpful, believe me. Also, when you have a decent amount of money, maybe the right time to start thinking how you can invest this money properly and do it right. I started investment into real estate, and then a little bit later I started invest into a fund market. It is also a great idea because you can start with a little money, like $50. I can say that I feel that my life changed, and from the moment I made this decision that I need to do my savings, and at this point where I am right now, I'm pretty much happy, and I'm really very proud of myself, because when I'm thinking on back days, I was a little scared girl that didn't have anything in her life, no money, no support, no nothing. I was alone raising my baby. I was so scared, I had so much fears, but believe me, this fear, that you need to release it, and it can bring you to something more. It can push you to do some actions. It's like with anger, when you release it right, it really gives so much energy, so much everything that you can put into making your dream come true. So I'm really proud of myself that I did everything that I thought is right for me, and all these sacrifices, it was worth it, because now I know I can do more, and I know it's just a beginning, and I really have much bigger goals, and I'm sure I'm gonna do it. So this is my story. This is my very first video, so I'm a little bit nervous, and this is not my mother language, so it was not easy for me. But I hope you liked my story, and I will be appreciate if you subscribe. If you have some questions or comments, I will definitely answer all your questions, and please don't hesitate to leave your comments, and thank you so much for watching me. I will share my story step by step in my next videos. Thank you.